Hi everyone, today we're gonna talk about VMware Workstation. Most of the frequent question of those people who's getting started with virtual machine is how they connect the VM to another VM, to the real device, to the LAN, and even to the internet. So maybe by watching this video, we can answer all of those questions. So let's get started. I have here a VMware Workstation as of now on my desktop. By the way, for those people who doesn't have any, there is a link button below. You can get the file there, and don't worry, it's really easy to install it. Okay, so going back to this one again. The essential things that you need to be aware of if you want to connect the real device to the virtual machine is we need to go to the Edit, Virtual Network Editor, and you will see this. Okay, and let me show you this one as well. Guys, I want you to imagine if you want to connect 2, 3, 4, or a couple of devices. We all know that one of the requirements of it is for them to have a LAN card. But we're not gonna connect them directly to each other. We need to have at least a switch at the middle. Okay. So as you can see, I have a couple of LAN card here on my real PC, such as the VMnet 1 and the VMnet 8, which is I'm gonna use to connect to my virtual machine. Also, probably I'm gonna use the Ethernet. It's upon to if you want to use the Ethernet wired or the wireless, but as of now, I'm gonna use the Ethernet wired. The question is, where did you get the VMnet 1 and VMnet 8? It's a package the moment you install the VMware Workstation. So again, this is the requirements number 1, the LAN card. Now, where are the switch? Going back to our virtual network editor, we also have VMnet 0, VMnet 1, and VMnet 8. Is that a LAN card? No. These 3, as of now, we're gonna call this 3 as a virtual switch. In other words, this VMnet 1 is already connected to this VMnet 1 virtual switch, while this VMnet 8 LAN card is also connected to this VMnet 8 virtual switch. And the last one, this Ethernet. Since I use the external connection such as the Intel R wired, this will be connected already to the virtual switch on the VMnet 0. But let's more focus regarding about these 3 types. What are the difference between those 3? Okay, having this topology, I think it will be more easy for us to understand the difference between those 3. But let's try to elaborate the interface or the topology first. So, from what I told you, I have 3 interfaces that I'm gonna use on my real PC. So, since this is my real PC, I have 3 interfaces. And those 3 interfaces should be connected to some virtual switch. So this is my virtual switch. So let's try to at least put some label on it. So first things first, since this is in the host only, which is the VMnet 1. Okay. So from what I told you, this is my LAN card connected to my virtual switch VMnet 1. So maybe we can change this one to the virtual switch VMnet 1. Fair enough? Okay. And this LAN card should also be labeled as my virtual LAN card on my VMnet 1. Okay, there you go. So next one, my virtual switch VMnet 8 should be connected to my LAN card VMnet 8. So maybe I just need to duplicate this one, put the label or change the label from the VMnet 1. I can change that to VMnet number 8. Okay, and again, this virtual LAN card that is connected to the VMnet 8 should be connected to the virtual switch or VMnet 8 virtual switch. So let me edit this one to VMnet 8. There we go. So for the last one, I have at least last virtual switches, which is the VMnet 0. Which is bridged to my, again, Intel R Ethernet connection, just as my external connection. This will be the LAN card that I'm gonna use. So maybe I need to label again, but instead of putting it at a virtual LAN card, maybe I need to put it here, real LAN card, VMnet 0. And this one should be on the VMnet 0. So guys, you all know that the rule about networking, for each and every LAN card that you have, each and every IP address should be assigned to them. And of course, it needs to be different. So How will we assign? What are the IP address that we can assign? By default, our virtual machine already created a subnet address. But if you want to change it, that is also possible. But let's just use whatever they gave to us as of now, since I'm sure it's gonna work. So as you can see on my VMnet1 host only, it is assigned to 192.168.88.0. Again, if you want to change it, that is possible. You just need to change it here. But yeah, let's just use that. So I'm gonna put it here 192.168.88.0/24. Okay. So the next one is the VMnet8, which is 192.168.175.0. So I'm just gonna duplicate that. So from 88, change it to 175. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's no IP address that assigned to my external connection, but we can assign whatever IP address that you want to use. But this network is the real network, or this is the real router, this is a real switch. In other words, if this real router is giving a DHCP address to these devices, my virtual machine also possible to get an IP address from that. Actually, maybe we can verify the IP address on my Ethernet connection. Maybe we can check the status. So here you go. So as you can see, the IP address is already 192.168.1.0 or 1.13/24. But of course, we can use the 1.0 for that. If you want to change it, that's also possible. But let's just use that. So I'm gonna assign here. I'm gonna duplicate it again. 192.168.1.0/24. Okay, so there you have it. But from what I told you, this LAN card need to be an IP. There should be an assigned IP address to those LAN cards, of course. Now, in this VMnet1, let's check if it's assigned as a static or DHCP. So as you can see, as of now, it's a static, which is the .1. Okay. In other words, this one should be, let's put a label again. So this will be our .1. Okay. So as you can see, it used the 192.168.88.1 IP. How about this one, the VMnet8? Let's check status, details. Okay. So there you go. So I already have also an IP address, which is 192.168.175.1. Okay. So yeah, let's put it, duplicate. Okay, there we go. And the last one on this interface, earlier we saw that this should be our .13, but if you want to change it to static, that's also possible. So let's put it here. Okay. But instead of putting .1, from what we saw earlier, that is .13. So again, there you have it. Simple as that. So now let's try to identify one by one, about the host only, the NAT, and the bridge mode. Starting with host only. The host only networking creates a network that is completely contained within the host computer. A host only network provides a network connection between the virtual machine and the host system by using a virtual network adapter that is visible on the host operating system, such as the VMnet1 or in our virtual switch VMnet1. In other words, this virtual machine can talk to the real PC and the other way around. But by default, this device cannot talk outside on the other LAN card going to the LAN or going to the internet. Or if it's planning to connect or talk to other virtual machine on other interface, that is really impossible. But if you're gonna add an additional virtual machine on the host only network, we can connect it here, connect it on the internet too if ever. So this VM1 can talk to the VMnet4, and this VMnet4 can do the same thing and can also talk to the real PC. As simple as that. That is the host only. Next up, the NAT, or Network Address Translation. A virtual machine does not have its own IP address on the external network. Instead, a separate private network is set up on the host system. In default configuration, a virtual machine gets an address on this private network from the virtual DHCP server. The virtual machine and the host system share a single network identity that is not visible on the external network. In other words, the host only and the NAT are almost the same with each other. The only difference is this virtual machine that is in the NAT mode can connect to the LAN and even to the internet. And if this device wants also to connect to this virtual machine inside the NAT mode, that's still possible, but you need to configure a port forwarding on this virtual switch. So that's it. That's the NAT mode. Last one, the bridge mode. Bridge networking connects a virtual machine to network by using the network adapter on the host system. If the host system is on the network, bridge network is often the easiest way to give a virtual machine access to the other network. In other words, this virtual machine can access the real LAN and even the internet. But if you're planning to create a virtual machine that should also be accessible with other real PC, bridge device or bridge mode is the best way to use. So as you can see, it's in the same network. If you're gonna put another virtual machine on the bridge mode, that's still possible, so that these two virtual machines in the bridge mode can talk to each other and can also be accessible by this other real PC. So that's it. That's the bridge mode. So that's host only, NAT, and bridge. But let's have a pure recap regarding about the topic that we just discussed earlier. And I have a simple table here so we can easily remember those ideas that we just talked about. So let's start with the host only. If the virtual machine wants to talk to the real PC or to the host, that is really possible to happen. Of course, for the reply, I will also put positive there. If the virtual machine wants to talk to another virtual machine on the host only network adapter, that is still possible as well. If the virtual machine wants to talk to the LAN or even to the internet, from what I told you, that's impossible to happen unless if you're gonna put a device such as a router or a firewall somewhere here, and those devices will be configured as a NAT, this host only can still access the LAN and internet. But maybe we just need to talk about that in another video that I'm gonna post soon. So keep posted. And of course, this will still be negative. So again, I'll just put it here by default. Okay? So the host only is almost the same with NAT. So I can say that the VM can talk to the host can talk to the VM, and the VM, if ever there's another device here, can talk to another VM. So again, remember from what I told you, the only difference between host only and NAT is these devices can access the LAN and the internet because it configured as a NAT mode. So again, positive here and positive here. But then I have another LAN connection going to the VM. Still remember that idea is this PC can access this network or this PC or this virtual machine. The answer is still yes, as long as you configure port forward. Right there. So last one, the bridge mode. The bridge mode can talk to VM to the host to the VM on this side. If the virtual machine wants to talk to another virtual machine, positive again. If the virtual machine wants to talk to the LAN, or if you have a couple of real PC here, it's still possible for them to talk to this one. And for the reply, of course, so again, another positive and another positive here. And of course, this virtual machine, since this is in the bridge mode, it can also have an access to the internet. So there you have it. For comment, clarification, and question, you can post it here, or you can send me a private message and even email me, and the email address will be posted below. Thank you for watching this video again. Have a nice day.